still going.
You ready?
Let's go.
Okay, we read these books, and I'm Jacob.
Did you go?
Yeah.
And I liked this one the best because he got some tobacco for teaching stuff, and he had a school in the ditch, and I like that. And I don't like books, so yeah.
And we read 4 books in Mr. Halstead's class: Nightjawn, Sarnie, Tulsa Burning, and Soldier's Heart. I'd have to take Tulsa Burning. Out of all things, that made me mad because the sheriff shot the dog in the book, and that 2 people ran over a little girl.
What we read in read class, I choose Soldier Heart as my favorite because it shows the hardships, some of the hardships in the Civil War and how it can be depressing at most. So, Soldier Heart, yeah.
My favorite book in Mr. Hofstad's class would have to be Cerny, because it talks about all the ups and downs of slavery, and it does a really good job of talking about how Cerny finds her family in New Orleans. That's why I like this book.
Sure, you're getting my good side. Nightjawn was my favorite book we read in read class. Nightjawn is a slave who comes into the Waller plantation in the middle of the night, and he has nothing to trade, but he wants some tobacco. And he tells Sarnie, a girl on the plantation, I want to trade for tobacco. She looks at him and said, you don't have anything to trade, you're naked. But yes, he does. He knows how to read and write. He teaches her letters, A and B. B she likes. A doesn't have a bottom. She doesn't get how it stands up. She also learns how to write the word bag. So Nightjawn is an interesting book. The last thing I think is interesting about this book is he starts a school in the middle of the night, and it's called a pit school because it's covered by brush so nobody sees it. So Nightjawn is a slave who teaches other slaves how to read. Awesome book.
My name's Nick, and I chose the book Nightjawn because it's told by the slave's point of view. I liked in the book where Nightjawn started a ditch in the school for kids to learn. And
My name's Bella, and my favorite book out of all the books we read this year is Tulsa Burning, because I like how it went into detail about throughout the whole book, and I like how it explained all the different characters there was in it and what they did. And
My favorite book that we read was called Soldier's Heart. It's a book by Gary Paulson, and it's about a soldier named Charlie Goodard who volunteers for war. He walks to war. I think he's 14 or 15, and he ends up at the Battle of Bull Run and the Battle of Gettysburg. War's fun for him. He gets to gamble. He gets to chew tobacco. He gets a gun. He gets paid. He gets a uniform. But then he loses his grin. He sees his friend get killed. He sees the elephant for the first time. He sees war. He sees death. He retires back to Minnesota, and he dies with a soldier's heart, and he's only 21 years old. Great book.
My name's Maddie, and my favorite book is probably Tulsa Burning because in the book, like, there's some sad parts and like you get like emotional, but the other parts that are funny, like you just laugh while like you're reading the book, and I think that's what makes this book good.
And my favorite book was Sarnie just because when her school burned down, she just kept trying it over and over again. She didn't let anybody tell her that she couldn't do it.
Alright, I'm Tate. I think my favorite book would have to be Tulsa Burning because I really like the parts about how Nob was trying to fit in wherever he went in Oklahoma, and how one of the things that I didn't like is how the sheriff shot his dog when he said that he couldn't go, and then how the sheriff actually listened to him when he said that I'm not leaving till I bury the dog.
My favorite book was Sarnie because the detail that Gary Paulson goes in, and it's from the point of view of a slave, and yeah.
My name is Darren Ortega, and the 4 books that we read was Nightjawn, Sarnie, Soldier's Heart, and Tulsa Burning. But I think my favorite would be Nightjawn, because Nightjawn, he's a pretty cool guy. He comes and meets Sarnie, and he has 3 letters of trade for tobacco, A, B, and C, and so he has a school in a ditch. It's pretty cool.
H. Twombly in Mr. Halstead's room. For read, we read Nightjawn, Sarnie, Soldier's Heart, and Tulsa Burning. My favorite was Nightjawn, In Night John, a guy comes into a slave camp or something like that, and comes in with nothing and trades letters for tobacco.
Hey Glassby, we read 4 books this year in Mr. Halstead's class. We read Sarnie, Night John, Soldier's Heart, and Tulsa Burning. I think Tulsa Burning was my favorite. Something that I liked about the book was that it was very emotional, and it showed how the author did a good job of showing how people went through this time. And I think something that was funny in the book was when Noah thought his dad wasn't going to heaven because he puked on the church steps once.
My name is Mr. Halstead, and we read Sarnie, we read Soldier's Heart, we read Night John, and read Tulsa Burning. What bugged me about Tulsa Burning is the sheriff was a crook. He had people vote just for him. He did not have a body camera, so he could do whatever he wanted, and he did unethical things. And it proves that body cameras are really smart in 2016, because now sheriffs have to follow rules. Even Sheriff Dudley, and he was a dud. You can do that too.
I read 4 books this year with Mr. Halstead in read class. We read Night John, Soldier's Heart, Tulsa Burning, and Sarnie. My probably favorite one is Tulsa Burning because he used paper clips and gum to get money out of the phone machine so he could buy stuff.
Out of all the 4 books that we read in Mr. Halstead's read class, I would have to pick Night John as being my favorite, because when he comes there, all he wants is some tobacco, but he gives more than tobacco and teaches Sarnie how to read and how he's brave enough to make school just in a ditch. And
What was it? And we read 4 books in Mr. Halstead's class, and the favorite one was Night John because he traded tobacco and taught Sarnie letters to read and stuff.
I'm Kate Pearts, and all the 4 books, Tulsa Burning, Sarnie, Soldier's Heart, and Night John, I think Night John was the best. How it was cool how Night John taught Sarnie and a bunch of kids how to read letters, and he had school in the ditch that was all covered so you couldn't see it, and he did it during the night, and Sarnie thought it was, she wrote down bag a lot, and she thought it was weird how A didn't have a bottom and B did.
This year we read 4 books in Mr. Halstead's class. I think we read Sarnie, Night John, Soldier's Heart, and Tulsa Burning. I think my favorite was Tulsa Burning because it showed how emotional this time was for most people, and I think my favorite part was when, dang it.